What follows is a brief history of how the celebration of Earth Day came to be and the role played by a leading peace activist named John McConnell. John McConnell was born in 1915 in Davis City, Iowa, in the United States of America. His father was a Pentecostal preacher and traveling doctor. Both of his parents were devout evangelicals who traveled extensively, so John spent most of his adolescence on the road, learning to read at libraries. The family left Davis City when John was just a few months old, traveling up and down the West Coast. By 1929, the family had been gifted what John later referred to as their house car, a panel van that contained a stove, an icebox, and convertible bunk beds. The family now included a total of 6 children. A biographer describes John as a very religious man, but one who saw spiritual beauty in all the world's face. John later wrote, "I spend at least an hour a day in silent meditation and prayer because I know there must be a creator. I can't imagine a creation without a creator. And this creator must have wisdom far beyond anything we know on earth. What we've discovered on earth is that the greatest wisdom is the wisdom of real love, of creative altruism." His interest in how we humans were treating our planet began in 1939 while partnering with the chemist Albert Nobel, not to be confused with the Swedish engineer Alfred Bernard Nobel, on a process to convert discarded walnut shells into a biodegradable plastic. Even then, he saw that non-degradable plastics were going to eventually choke the planet. He began a lifelong crusade to find ways to protect the environment, consistent with beliefs in the responsibilities of those who profess the Christian faith. McConnell sought exemption from military service during the Second World War as a conscientious objector. His petition rejected, he entered basic training, but refused to learn how to use weapons, was placed in a military prison for several months, and when released, left the United States for an island off the coast of Honduras. He returned to the United States in 1946 so that his first child would have U.S. citizenship. After a psychiatric examination concluded he was unfit for military service, he and his wife settled in North Carolina, where he tirelessly preached on behalf of the cause of peace. As advances in science and technology allowed for the first launching of satellites circling the planet, McConnell called for the peaceful cooperation in the exploration of space. This led to creation of the Star of Hope organization devoted to fostering international cooperation in space. McConnell moved to California in 1959, where he co-founded the organization named Mountain View. In response to the need to assist thousands of Hong Kong refugees, he organized a campaign in San Francisco in 1962 called Meals for Millions. His efforts were recognized by former President Dwight D. Eisenhower. In November of 1963, McConnell made a presentation to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in which he proposed that the 21st of March be set aside as a worldwide observance for peace and care of the earth. He followed up the Meals for Millions program with a Minute for Peace campaign, culminating in June of 1965 when he spoke at the National Education Association convention held in New York City. At the October 1969 UNESCO conference in San Francisco, McConnell proposed a global holiday to celebrate the life-supporting planet which we inhabit, publicize a strong warning of the harm being done to the earth, and to advance the cause of universal peace. An Earth Day proclamation, Honor the Earth, followed, issued by the city of San Francisco on the 1st of March 1970. The first celebration of Earth Day then occurred on the 21st of March. McConnell then created an Earth Day proclamation for worldwide use, signed by 36 world leaders, including UN General Youthant, Margaret Mead, John Gardner, and others. To this day, the spring equinox Earth Day is celebrated in the Northern Hemisphere in many cities by the ringing of peace bells, and at the United Nations with ringing of the UN peace bell. Here is UN Secretary General Youthant speaking before ringing the peace bell at the first United Nations Earth Day in 1971. The future celebration of Earth Day was about to change, however. One member of the United States Senate, Wisconsin's Gaylord Nelson, led the campaign for passage of the Wilderness Act of 1964, which protected over 9 million acres of land from development. Next, he directed his efforts to reduce the pollution of the nation's air and water. Nelson proposed the organizing of environmental teach-ins to be held on the same day all across the United States. A small staff began the planning process, and the 22nd of April was chosen as the date, in part because the date was convenient for participation by college students. While the April 22nd Earth Day was focused on the United States, an organization launched by Dennis Hayes, who was the original national coordinator in 1970, took it international in 1990 and organized events in 141 nations. Today, numerous communities celebrate Earth Week, an entire week of activities focused on environmental issues. This mural, created by Joanne Toffils and painted by students from California State University and other schools, celebrates John McConnell's work on peace and environmental justice. In his autobiography, published in 2011 at age 95, McConnell discussed the economics behind his life of activism. He wrote, "If we are going to have a healthy economy, we must recognize three things. First, there is an equal claim of every person on our planet to Earth's land and raw materials. Any fair consideration of these rights will lead to some arrangement that will give each individual the title to an equitable portion of his planet, or compensation for its use by others. Earth rights, or rights to an earth claim, is a basic necessity in building a healthy society. Second, we must have a fair and stable medium of exchange based on the commodities or properties to be exchanged in the amounts needed to maintain a healthy flow of exchange. The system should encourage fair trade and payment of services, rewarding workers instead of the drones, the manipulators, and schemers seeking unearned profits. Third, we must solve the problem of nationalism." McConnell died on the 20th of October 2012 at age 97 in Denver, Colorado. More on the life and achievements of John McConnell are found in these two books.